And we begin tonight with Flight 370. The major new clue, was it deliberately brought down?
More than a decade after Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished without a trace, artificial intelligence has done what no human search ever could. By scanning thousands of satellite images and oceanic data, AI has flagged something that defies every previous assumption. Could this finally answer aviation's greatest mystery, or raise even more chilling questions? March 8, 2014, began like any ordinary red-eye. MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur, bound for Beijing, carrying 239 people, families, business travelers, and seasoned pilots. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, with over 18,000 flying hours, was at the controls. Everything seemed normal, until 40 minutes in, at 1:21 a.m., the plane vanished from civilian radar. No mayday, no distress signal, just silence. Military radar later revealed something strange. Instead of heading north, MH370 turned sharply west over the Malay Peninsula, then south into the Indian Ocean, and then gone. What followed was the largest, most expensive aviation search in history. 26 countries scoured the ocean with satellites, submarines, drones, and deep-sea vessels. A strip of ocean west of Australia, the so-called Seventh Arc, became the focus. Despite combing over 120,000 square kilometers, the official search ended in 2017. Private efforts in 2018 also failed. Only a few fragments washed ashore in the western Indian Ocean, offering tantalizing hints but no definitive answers. Families were left in limbo. Experts were baffled. The plane, for all intents and purposes, had disappeared into the void. Without answers, theories ran wild. Mechanical failure, sudden decompression, a fire in the electronics bay, or something darker, the possibility of pilot intervention. Rumors swirled about. Captain Zahari's personal flight simulator plotting similar routes. Others speculated hijacking, cyber attacks, military interception, or secret landings. Governments and conspiracy theories collided, each claiming fragments of truth. Yet, despite all this speculation, nothing concrete emerged. The mystery became bigger than aviation. It was psychological, global, and haunting, an open wound for families, a puzzle for experts, and a ghost story for the world. The southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote, hostile regions on Earth. Towering swells, unpredictable currents, and unmapped trenches made sonar sweeps difficult. Satellite handshakes offered data, but interpreting them required complex modeling and assumptions. The human equivalent of guesswork, hundreds of thousands of satellite images captured during the search were left unanalyzed. Human eyes just couldn't process the sheer volume of data fast enough. And even the most advanced ships and sonar struggled against rugged underwater terrain. Years passed, the world gave up, but a new hope was quietly forming by 2021. AI had started outperforming humans in everything from medical diagnoses to satellite analysis. Data scientists asked, what if AI could see what we missed? Teams trained neural networks on thousands of images of plane debris, ocean surfaces, and simulated 777 breakups. These models weren't just looking for obvious shapes. They learned to detect subtle anomalies, unnatural wave formations, unusual reflectivity, and shadows barely perceptible to the human eye. Then, in 2023, the AI flagged something extraordinary. A cluster of geometric shadows beneath the waves in a zone previously considered low probability. Confidence levels soared above 90%. Another independent AI model confirmed it. For the first time, decades of frustration were challenged by a digital mind refusing to blink. It wasn't a clean, intact airplane. It was a debris field, jagged fuselage fragments, twisted wings, and a vertical stabilizer partially buried under silt. The AI detected multiple signs consistent with a Boeing 777 wing flaps, cabin structure, even reflective anomalies resembling the tail joint. Crucially, the site was just outside the original search grid, in rough terrain sonar had struggled with. Objects had likely slid down underwater slopes, partially buried, invisible to human searchers. Independent experts cross-referenced drift models and debris patterns. The probability that this wasn't MH370 became almost impossible to accept. Yet answers only deepened the mystery. Why here? Why outside the predicted crash zone? Aviation engineers studying the AI data saw order, not chaos. The wreckage suggested a controlled descent, not a violent plunge. Could black boxes, electronics, or even human remains have survived the deep-sea conditions? Marine scientists say recovery is difficult but possible. Political and legal complications loom international waters. Malaysian ownership, multi-nation coordination. The AI hadn't just found the wreckage, it reignited debates about pilot involvement. The controlled descent hinted at deliberate action. Questions long dismissed as conspiratorial resurfaced, now backed by unprecedented digital evidence. Even now, mysteries remain. Was it intentional, mechanical failure, or something else entirely? The AI revealed what humans couldn't see, but it can't tell us why. It leaves us with both hope and dread. The grave of MH370 may finally be located, but the story is far from over. Human investigation must follow, to confirm, to understand, to finally close a chapter that has haunted the world for over a decade. Artificial intelligence saw what humans couldn't, patterns in chaos, fragments of a story hidden in plain sight. But even now, the ultimate truth remains just out of reach. Could AI have solved the greatest aviation mystery of our time, or has it only opened the door to the next set of questions? The final answer may lie in the ocean depths. Until then, the world watches, waits, and wonders. March 8, 2014. A routine red-eye flight, MH370, departs Kuala Lumpur, bound for Beijing, carrying 239 people, families, couples, business travelers, seasoned pilots. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, with over 18,000 hours in the air, is at the controls. Everything seems normal. Until 40 minutes in, at 1:21 a.m., the plane vanishes from civilian radar. No mayday, no distress call. Just silence. Military radar later shows a strange path, a sharp westward turn over the Malay Peninsula, then south into the Indian Ocean. The plane is gone, leaving only questions. And what followed would become the largest search in aviation. History. 20-6 countries join the hunt. Satellites, drones, submarines, deep-sea vessels comb the seventh arc, west of Australia. Over 120,000 square kilometers are scanned. Hundreds of millions of dollars spent, yet nothing definitive is found. Fragments wash ashore, years later, pieces of wing, cabin panels, but no black boxes, no final location. The official search ends in 2017. A private attempt by Ocean Infinity in 2018 also fails. For families, grief becomes a suspended nightmare. For investigators, the ocean swallows not just the plane, but their certainty. Without answers, speculation explodes. Mechanical failure, sudden decompression, fire in the electronics bay. More disturbing, some point to pilot intervention. Zahari's personal flight simulator reportedly contained routes resembling the plane's disappearance. Other theories: whisper hijacking, cyber attacks, military interception, or covert landings. Conspiracy theories flourished. Governments remain silent or opaque. Each rumor adds shadows, and every shadow leaves the world more unsettled. The southern Indian Ocean is one of the harshest places on Earth. 20-foot swells, unpredictable currents, unmapped trenches. Sonar is limited. Satellite pings are only educated guesses. Millions of satellite images remain unanalyzed, simply because humans can't process that scale. Ships combed the surface, but the terrain below remained almost entirely mysterious. And then, AI entered the equation, a force that doesn't get tired, doesn't misinterpret, and doesn't blink. By 2021, AI was outperforming humans in medicine, satellite imagery, and environmental monitoring. Researchers wondered, what if AI could finally see what we missed in 2014? Neural networks were trained on thousands of images of plane wreckage, ocean debris, and simulations of 777 breakups. These AEs learnt to spot subtle anomalies, unnatural wave patterns, faint reflectivity, shadows too delicate for the human eye. In 2023, AI flagged a strange cluster beneath the waves, outside the previously searched area. Confidence levels soared above 90%. Another independent AI model confirmed the finding. For the first time, hope returned not through ships or sonar, but through code. It wasn't a pristine plane. It was a debris field. Jagged fuselage, fragments, twisted wings, vertical stabilizer partially buried in silt. The AI detected multiple features consistent with a Boeing 777 wing flaps. Cabin sections, reflective anomalies matching the tail. Multispectral imaging even revealed a faint outline of the vertical stabilizer, just beneath the water's surface. Crucially, the site is outside the previous search grid. In rough underwater terrain, sonar struggled with. The wreckage likely slid down slopes, partially buried. What humans saw as noise was actually a story waiting to be read. Aviation experts studying the AI data see order, not chaos. The wreckage suggests a controlled descent rather than a violent plunge. Could black boxes or electronics have survived? Could human remains still exist in cold, deep waters? Marine scientists say recovery is difficult but feasible. Political and legal complications loom. International waters, Malaysian ownership, multi-nation coordination. The AI didn't just find the wreckage, it reignited debates about pilot involvement. The controlled descent hints at deliberate action. Once dismissed theories now carry weight. The AI coordinates sit roughly 82 kilometers outside Ocean Infinity's 2018 search grid. Previously considered low probability due to sonar interference. More than a decade after Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished without a trace, artificial intelligence has done what no human search ever could, and what it found has left scientists speechless. In a stunning breakthrough, new AI models scanning thousands of satellite images and oceanic data have unearthed potential wreckage in a location that defies previous search logic. Could this finally answer aviation's greatest mystery, or raise even more chilling questions? The disappearance. That stunned the world. It began like any other red-eye flight. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport just after midnight, bound for Beijing. The aircraft was a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the most reliable commercial jets in service, with 239 souls. On board, passengers from 14 different countries, including entire families, young couples, and seasoned business travelers. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a veteran pilot with over 18,000 flying hours, was in command. Everything appeared routine, until it wasn't. Roughly 40 minutes into the flight, at 1:21 a.m., MH370 vanished from civilian radar. No mayday, no distress signal. One moment the plane was cruising calmly at 35,000 feet over the South China Sea, then silence. Air traffic control tried to re-establish contact. Nothing. Military radar would later reveal a bizarre twist. Instead of continuing north toward China, the plane had veered sharply west, flying back over the Malay Peninsula before turning south over the vast Indian Ocean, and then gone. The disappearance of MH370 triggered the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Over the next few years, 26 countries joined the hunt, deploying submarines, satellites, drones, and specialized deep-sea search vessels. The Indian Ocean was combed, remote islands were scanned. For a time, the world's eyes were fixed on a strip of blue emptiness west of Australia, known as the Seventh Arc, where experts believed the aircraft had finally run out of fuel and plummeted into the sea, but they found nothing. Despite hundreds of millions of dollars spent and over 120,000 square kilometers of ocean floor scoured, the official search, led by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, was called off in January 2017. Another private effort in 2018 by US company Ocean Infinity also ended with no concrete results. The wreckage had vanished so completely, so mysteriously, that even seasoned investigators struggled to make sense of it. Pieces of debris later washed up on shores in the western Indian Ocean. Fragments of the wing, interior cabin panels, and other components confirmed to belong to MH370. But without the fuselage or black boxes, no one could say with certainty what had caused the crash, or even exactly where it occurred. The vacuum of information left room for an avalanche of theories, some technical, others conspiratorial. Some pointed to a possible catastrophic mechanical failure, perhaps a sudden decompression event, a fire in the electronics bay, or a freak malfunction rendered the crew unconscious while the autopilot guided the plane on its final course until fuel exhaustion. Others turned to more sinister ideas, pilot self-harm, namely that Captain Zahari had deliberately diverted and ditched the plane in a premeditated act. This theory, though controversial and painful for the pilot's family, gained traction due to a private flight simulator at Zahari's home allegedly containing a similar route. Others pointed to hijacking, terrorism, military interference, or even cyber attacks, particularly after it was revealed that military radar had tracked MH370, making unusual altitude changes and course deviations during its ghostly westward turn. There were whispers of geopolitical secrets, government cover-ups, and covert missions gone wrong. Some claimed the plane was intercepted or shot down and the truth buried to avoid scandal. Others insisted the aircraft had landed somewhere in Central Asia, hidden in plain sight. Each theory added more shadows, but no clarity. The tragedy became not only an unsolved accident, but a psychological black hole, one that consumed families, obsessed aviation experts, and baffled the general public. A pain that doesn't fade for the families of the 239 people aboard. The mystery wasn't just an intellectual riddle, it was an open wound. The absence of answers, of remains, of closure. It was a grief suspended in time. Every rumor became a thread of hope. Every silence felt like betrayal. Year after year, they waited for the call, the clue, the breakthrough that never came. MH370 became a ghost, not just of a flight, but of trust, of certainty, of control. A world connected by GPS, satellites, radar, and real-time data had somehow lost a massive airliner and had to admit it. But the story was far from over. Because beneath the waves and within terabytes of forgotten data, something was still waiting to be found. And just as the world had given up, artificial intelligence was about to step in and change everything. When MH370 disappeared, the world assumed it would be found within days. How could it not? In an age of satellites, real-time radar tracking, and global aviation infrastructure, losing a commercial airliner seemed impossible. But the search for MH370 quickly became a brutal masterclass in the limits of human capability. The area where MH370 is believed to have gone down deep in the southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote, hostile, and under-mapped regions on Earth. Swells can tower over 20 feet. Ocean currents twist and shift unpredictably. The seafloor is an alien landscape of trenches, ridges, and underwater mountains. Some parts had never even been properly mapped before 2014 to scan it. Search teams deployed side-scan, sonar, autonomous underwater vehicles AUVs, towed, sonar arrays, and remote-operated vehicles ROVs. Massive research vessels crisscrossed the search zones for months. The technology was advanced, but it was slow, painstaking, and hugely expensive. And worst of all, it was still guided by human assumptions. Investigators relied on satellite handshakes, hourly data pings sent between MH370 and an satellite over the Indian Ocean to determine the aircraft's final arc, but interpreting those pings was not a precise science. It required complex modeling of Doppler shifts, fuel estimates, speed assumptions, and flight behavior patterns. In other words, the entire search depended on best guesses, complicating Matters further was the fact that the raw data had never been fully exhausted. Hundreds of thousands of satellite images had been taken in the days and weeks after the disappearance. High-resolution visuals of the ocean's surface, captured by commercial and government satellites alike. But here's the problem. They were never fully analyzed. Why? Because human analysts simply couldn't comb through all of them fast enough. Processing that volume of imagery would take years, and even then, the human eye wasn't optimized to spot subtle anomalies or differentiate wreckage from the natural chaos of the sea. That's where the turning point began. As the years passed and the official search wound down, a radical idea began to take shape among data scientists, oceanographers, and tech innovators. What if we handed the data to artificial intelligence and asked it to see what we couldn't? From aviation tragedy to AI training ground, by 2021, the world had changed. AI had begun outperforming humans in tasks ranging from medical diagnosis to protein folding to real-time translation. In satellite imagery analysis, neural networks were identifying everything from illegal logging to battlefield movements with shocking precision. What if that same technology was used to search for MH370? It began quietly. Several teams around the world, including independent researchers, academic labs, and private companies, started building AI models trained on thousands of images of plane wreckage, ocean debris, and satellite oceanic visuals. These AIs weren't just scanning for obvious fuselage shapes. They were being taught to detect patterns humans wouldn't even think to look for. Unnatural wave formations, reflectivity anomalies, shape shadows, even subtle changes in ocean color that could indicate submerged objects. One model, trained using machine learning techniques like convolutional neural networks, CNNs, began showing early promise. It was fed tens of terabytes of historical satellite data, not just from the search period, but from before and after, to help it understand how the ocean's surface behaves when something large and unnatural lies beneath it. Soon, it started flagging images that had gone completely unnoticed by human analysts. And in 2023, everything changed. It wasn't a dramatic aha moment. In fact, the first alert from the AI seemed like just another anomaly. A strange cluster of geometric shadows beneath the waves in a zone just outside the previously searched area. The AI ranked it with a confidence level of over 92%, unusually high for such a broad search. Skeptical, researchers ran the images again. Through a second, independently trained model, the result was chilling. Not only did the second model agree, but it also identified what appeared to be fuselage curvature, and even isolated a fragment shape matching the dimensions of a Boeing 777 wing component. In one frame, reflectivity signatures eerily resembled the vertical stabilizer, the tail fin, partially buried beneath silt and sediment, caught just beneath the ocean's surface light distortion. Suddenly, the wreck that had eluded search teams for nearly a decade had a digital fingerprint, and it wasn't where anyone thought it would be. The AI that changed everything. The breakthrough didn't come from a government agency or aviation bureau.